Hello, everyone, and welcome to the MediaJel podcast. I am your host, Guillermo Bravo. Thank you for joining us today for our emerging market alert for New Jersey cannabis dispensaries. So today we'll be covering how to update your medical dispensary to capture adult use markets with Courtney Brown. MediaJel connects brands and retailers with cannabis consumers through our ad network of mainstream publishers, mobile apps, games, and TV. We help cannabis companies advertise on Google, support an SEO, and activate data with display advertising to support e-commerce sales. Courtney Brown is the digital marketing manager at MediaJel, bringing 7 years of digital marketing and demand generation experience to today's podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Courtney.
Hey everyone, it's really great to be back, especially for such a timely and exciting topic. Yeah. I know New Jersey dispensaries are really busy right now. They've only been open for a few weeks into their rec sales, and I have a really cool stat here I wanted to share, which was in New Jersey's first day of adult use, gross sales at the 12 licensed dispensaries were almost 1.9 million. Isn't that crazy? That is so, they are floored busy. But for everyone out there that's tuning in that are operating in different states, don't worry, you can still use this webinar as a guide. We know that there's a ton of businesses out there looking forward to and preparing for the transition from medical to adult use markets in their states. So it's never too soon to outline your plan. And as you're going to learn, we have a lot to talk about and a lot that you'll need to plan for. So we're here to talk about New Jersey today, but Guillermo, can you fill us in on what is currently going on in the New Jersey market?
Yeah, New Jersey, the states have allowed retailers already selling medical cannabis to transition their recreational sales. So there's really an opportunity for a market grab. Take advantage of this moment for those retailers that already have licenses to get ahead of the competition. Retailers have about 6 months to a year to capture as much market share as possible before competition increases, as it takes some time to get licensed and to build out these retail storefronts. So now is the time for any existing New Jersey retailers to really take advantage of this market opportunity. Yes. And then as far as New Jersey, they passed legislation allowing 13 of their 18 medical cannabis retailers to transition to adult use. So there's an estimated 1.3 million recreational cannabis users available in the New Jersey market now. And delivery is approved in state, and it must be connected to a retail store. And you can buy cannabis flower, concentrates, ingestible forms of cannabis that aren't food, so no drops or syrups. And then you can't buy edibles, so resembling food, there's no pot brownies available either. So, New Jersey is the only state with legalized cannabis that doesn't allow patients to grow on their own. So there is some kind of limiting factors there, but more opportunities for you as a retailer to really take advantage of the market ahead.
I guess you have to start somewhere, but oh my gosh, the pot brownie is iconic. So hopefully they'll come around to that surely one day soon. So in any case, adding 1.3 million adult users to your total addressable market is not only exciting, but incredibly daunting with regards to the amount of sales that you can make, but also how much work you have in front of you. So we have some data that we'd like to share with you all that is nothing short of impressive. Guillermo, let's look at the Illinois market, and then we have some stats for New Jersey projections as well as New York.
Yeah, so everyone here should pay attention to these numbers, so you can get understanding of the exponential sales increases that occur, when transitioning from medical to adult use. It really underscores the importance of having a robust transition strategy. So here's a few numbers, looking at Illinois. So Illinois grew by 226% from 39.2 million when they first began sales January 2020 to 127.8 million in July of 2021. So a massive jump there, over a year and a half. And according to Statistica, New Jersey is projected to reach 400 million in its first year and 950 million by its fourth year of adult use sales.
Wow.
Yeah, the New York's right, is going to be the second biggest market in the in the country. So that's projected to reach 1.1 billion in sales for the first year and grow up to 2.1 billion by its fourth year. So there's a lot of opportunities, in New England and the East Coast in general. There's some massive markets that are going to be on transition to adult use, and just more opportunities for these retailers to reach new consumers. So
those numbers really, really are impressive. And it just makes it even clearer how prepared you need to be when you even hear a whisper of recreational legalization in your state.
yeah.
Because your customer base increases and those customers will have a more diverse needs than your medical use only markets. Consider starting your adult use journey by doing some market research and a competitor audit. This information is going to help guide your marketing strategy on your journey to position yourself as a market leader. Guillermo, what kind of research should retailers be doing to prepare for adult use markets?
Well, I guess let's start from the top. So you're first going to need to do your research for how to qualify for a license for your state. How much will it cost? If there's a social equity program, like what it's going to take to get kind of across the finish line there, and the requirements that need to be met initially and consistently to keep the license up to date. So there's a lot of kind of barriers there. That's going to be you may have to, I don't know about New Jersey, but I know in some states, like you have to pay, they don't accept LOI, so you have to pay rent the entire time before you even open a store. So there's a lot of upfront costs that you need to be aware of. So really, taking the time to do your research on that front. And then market research. So, when you include recreational use, customers in your business plan, you want to understand the total addressable market. So from a lot of the numbers that we shared before, New Jersey has a population of about 8.882 million. So 8,882,000 population for the state. And from our data from Statistica, it's about 15.2%, 15.29% of those consumers actually partake in cannabis at one point or another. So that's almost 1.4 million in addressable market or TAM. So just to be specific, it's 1,358,057 users. So there's a lot to really to target there. And before you open up your store, you want to really get an overview of like where you stand in the market. So compile a full list of all the adult use cannabis retailers, delivery services, dispensaries in a 30-mile radius of your business address. You want to find out the location of all your competitors. You'll want to look at your location as proximity to high traffic roads, and how many parking spots are available. Like these are all important factors when you're opening up a retail store. And really take your time to go through competitors' menus, right? So like we've seen this a lot of markets that have transitioned adult use, like Illinois, Michigan, Arizona. With the change in type of consumer, so moving from medical to adult use, like they have different expectations as well. There's usually more SKUs available. They're not all medically focused, right? They're not related to ailments. There's a lot of high demand for flower in vape cartridges. So you want to really look at what products that are available, what the average pricing is per product, per brand. Also look at how many SKUs are available per category type and what brands are in stock at your competitors. So depending on competition, you may want to update your product catalog and pricing to be competitive with the others. You're looking for duplications in the market too. You're looking for product gaps. So what your competition offers in your area, make sure that you really address all of these, because it's going to have a major impact on your conversion rate. We typically see for a cannabis retailer and medical adult use markets anywhere from like an 8% or higher conversion rate for their e-commerce menus. And if you if you're not really meeting the customer with the right product and pricing, like we can see that drop all the way to 2% or 1% or lower. So, this is really important because, all that traffic that you're getting to your website, you want to make sure that you get them across the finish line. You get them to convert through e-commerce menu or through, in-store foot traffic. So, you really want to give your best chance at winning that business. And then, looking at their digital presence online, there's a very diverse set of like how people have prioritized their digital presence. And, some people are using a third-party menu, like they're sending people to Weed Maps. Others are using like Jane or Dutchie to host their menus. So really looking at those factors, you really want to set yourself up for success. So your website is really the foundation of that. So look at everyone else's websites, their branding, how they present themselves online, and a great indicator about how customers engage with that business is going to be through their Google My Business profile. So you can look at their reviews on Google My Business. You can also look at Leafly and Weed Maps if they have a presence across those platforms, or Yelp, and just to get an idea of what customers are saying about them. Customers are they're vocal about challenges they're having with the store. So if it's there's a long line, or they didn't like the customer experience, the budtenders were rude, or they didn't have education there, then there's a lot of opportunities for you to make sure you do it right from the start and get customers what they need. And we'll touch a little bit about this on the difference about between a medical cannabis user versus adult use. There's some major distinctions between the two. So there's a lot to really keep in mind when you're going into adult use market.
I love that takeaway. Looking at Google reviews, I mean, that is a real window into your competition, and you can use that information in order, to position yourself better and find those gaps, and obviously product gaps. That was really good information there. It really cannot be underscored enough. You have to know your competition inside and out. Create those Excel sheets, like track the data, look at everything and compile it in one place, and it can highlight some things that you wouldn't realize. It can also help you identify what they're doing differently or better, and help you solidify your unique position in the marketplace. So with all of that in mind, I want to get tactical. That's my favorite part, putting your plan into action. In terms of shifting your marketing strategies from medical to adult use, how should retailers get tactical in their businesses to prepare for this new market?
That's a great question. First of all, you need to understand the differences between a medical patient versus adult use, consumer. Big difference. Medical patients, they've probably been a patient for quite some time. They're well educated on the products that really meet their needs, right? So they have a real connection with the plant. They've been using this for some time. And adult use consumers can be anyone, right? So they can come with no experience with cannabis, and it's going to take a lot of education really at the top to get people comfortable with consuming cannabis, right? Women and baby boomers are two of the fastest growing markets within cannabis. So making sure that you have staff that can speak to both of those audiences is going to be important. Having a lot of educational materials available on the website, in store, maybe providing some evergreen content on throughout the store as well, through iPads or different marketing materials in house, so that you just kind of bridge that gap on people that aren't familiar with cannabis. This is their first time partaking in using the plant. So there's a lot of things to be aware of there. And then on the way that you are speaking to customers, it's I've seen the change, and even in like dispensary layouts. Like if you if you have a medical cannabis store, there's usually a check-in area. But when they transition to adult use, like you really just walk in, it's the entire store. And if you are a medical user, there's like a different area for you. So really being aware of that transition and rebranding your website, updating the language to be, instead of being medical focused, maybe move to lifestyle focused, because in medical users, you really are speaking to all these different archetypes, right? So there's a lot of different consumer types that you'll be reaching. You might have the young entrepreneurs, you have the baby boomers, you have the soccer moms. There's regular users, people that are buying products coming in every week, and there's people that are coming in once a quarter. So really have content and products that speak to all these different audiences. You really want to increase your staffing and training programs. So education is going to be key to this wide, this new consumer base. So you really have to increase your education. Make sure that bud tenders are up to date with all the latest brands. Kind of they're the best, the most relevant products for certain ailments or experiences that people are trying to receive. So there's a lot of things that you need to be aware of on that front. And then just ensuring that once your website, your marketing materials, your branding kit, and everything is updated to reflect the new market, then you'll want to make sure that you update all of your assets across all digital marketing platforms, right? So if you have you're running Google ads or paid search, you want to kind of speak to the customer differently, not be so medically focused with the way that you present yourself, and really being inclusive of all the different archetypes. On the display ads, same thing. You can change your graphics. It can be more adult use, showing the product. Doing maybe for adult use, like we recommend doing like an incentive to get people to come to the store, right? So like a first time customer discount. I'm not sure if that's available in New Jersey. I would definitely check with the advertising laws on that front. And then SEO, so ensuring that you're creating content that speaks to the different, levels of experience that consumers have with cannabis. So there's a lot that you need to update there, and then when you're looking at the different advertising channels, making sure that your billboards are up to date. Any additional advertising that you're doing, maybe digital out-of-home advertising, social media, like all that needs to be updated.
The full facelift.
Yeah, it's almost like you just have to change your language, right? Like your social media content needs to be inclusive, needs to hit all these different market types. Your marketing material terminology needs to be updated from medical to recreational, adult use, and then you really need to speak to the needs of the adult use consumers. They might not want to consume cannabis for insomnia or joint pain or other conditions. Like they want to go out and go on a hike. They want to go to a concert. They want to do different experiential events where they'll be partaking in cannabis. So those are all things to really consider. And then on the rebranding, we touched on that a little bit, but ensuring that you're updating your branding if you need to. If you were a traditional medical brand, it may be time to kind of update your branding. We've worked with some stores that have, let's say they had a cannabis retail chain. They have some brands that they produce because they're vertically integrated. They've seen a lot of companies kind of rebrand their retail stores so they can be more, I guess, mainstream, just be more welcoming to all consumer types. If they had a real like pharmaceutical look or like a health clinic or like a pharmacy feel, like you have to do a whole rework of that because that's not what customers are expecting when they're adult use, right? So there's a lot to consider there. And then inventory selection, right? So when you're opening up a store, like how does the new legislation affect your inventory? So what product categories, category gaps were found when you did your competitor research. And we mentioned that there's no limits on the type of edibles. There are some limits on the type of edibles that you can sell in New Jersey. So you want to be aware of kind of the market gaps there. And just similar to other markets that transition from medical to adult use, like it's going to be led by flower. Like that's going to be the number one category by far. And then pre-rolls, vape cartridges, those are all really popular. That's going to account for probably 70% plus of all the product SKUs and sales. And then looking at the technology side, I don't think it's really necessary to update your point of sale, but you may want to look at that to make sure that's compliant within the state regulations. And online menu, really just ensuring that you're prepared for the different type of technical aptitude that these new consumers have. So you can train, if you're going to market with a new store, you can train your consumers on how to engage with you. So if you have this really kind of omni-channel, the website matches your in-store experience, matches everything else that you have available online, then you can really maximize that user experience and really make it sticky so that the customers are loyal to you. So training people on how to engage with your menu, making sure that it's up to date, that it's has as much product information, photography, product details as possible, so that customers have as much information to make the right choice on that front. And then we mentioned this before, but hiring and training new staff is definitely going to be top priority, right? Millions more in sales means you're going to have to hire. You're going to need to expand your bud tenders, your security, your managers, and you'll need to have solid training programs to ensure that you're delivering on your company values and providing excellent customer service. And this is not something that you can do one time and move on. You really need to have a platform or some type of cadence on a regular basis where bud tenders can constantly do training every week, or at least every month, to ensure that they're up to date on the new product brands and offerings that you have in store.
That is so important. Your first line, who's engaging with your customers and making sure that they're up to date with everything that's going on, medical and then adult use. We did air a bud tender training webinar called Unrolling Cannabis Education. I just dropped that in the chat for everyone, so you can use that for your reference. And let's talk about paid search strategies.
See if there's any questions as well. And for anyone that's watching us live, if you have any questions for us, feel free to leverage the Zoom interface. There's the Q&A in the bottom here, and there's the chat as well. And we'll be happy to answer any of your requests. And then, Courtney, should we touch on a little bit of the digital marketing strategies as well, or do you want to?
That's the best part of it all, don't you think?
Okay.
Once you have everything organized, now it's time to, get your message out there. So paid search, display, and SEO strategies. Let's dig into those. Yeah.
So for your digital marketing mix, if you haven't already, you should, definitely invest in some paid search. So this includes, let's just say in New Jersey, within a 20-mile radius of your store, you want to bid on traditional cannabis terms that people are using to find cannabis online or to find a local store. So that can be non-branded keywords like recreational cannabis, a cannabis store. Dispensary near me is a really big one on Google Maps. Adult use, marijuana. You'll definitely want to use all the different synonyms of marijuana, cannabis, pot. I mean, there's thousands of keyword opportunities there. Uh, New Jersey, marijuana legal? Like, do I need a medical card in New Jersey? Like, these are all questions that you can answer, when you're doing a paid search campaign. I would say, like, focus on non-brand keywords, kind of within a limit of $3,000 to $5,000 that you would spend on a monthly basis on a Google Ads campaign. You can also run ads on Bing as well. So the inventory, or I guess the demand on Bing is not as high. Like, Google definitely owns the search engine market. They're upwards of 93% of all searches in the United States are completed on Google. So, you want to just kind of have a good balance of that in your marketing mix. In addition to that, other paid search campaigns that you can run, like as you expand your budget, you can look at branded terms. So if you really want to protect your brand in the state, that's one category that you can work on. Also, competitor campaigns. So you can actually bid on your competitor brand names. So if someone is searching for ABC Dispensary, your ad can show up there at the top above them, and you can try to win their business. Product categories, flower and pre-rolls and vape cartridges are all going to be popular, so you can bid on those keyword types through paid search. You don't have to. You really don't have to limit yourself on the keywords. Like, on the paid search side, you can target thousands of keywords, and the way that Google Ads works is you set a daily budget or a cap on how much you want to spend per day. So if you're doing, let's say, $3,000 30 days in a month, that's $100 per day. And as soon as you hit that $100, then your ads will no longer show up. So something to be aware of and something to watch as you're going to market. And some of the numbers you can expect on the return on ad spend for paid search is around $5 return on ad spend. So for $3,000, you can expect any $15,000 in online sales from that channel, and that's all going to be last click, meaning someone saw your ad, they searched for a, let's say, cannabis store, they saw your ad, they clicked on the ad, and then they immediately went to your online menu and they made a checkout for in-store pickup. So we can track, every keyword type, group, and specific keyword, and how that translates to sales, and really optimize that to maximize your return on ad spend. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And with paid search, it's really like bottom of funnel. So people have the intent to buy, and you do have other like top of funnel marketing tactics that you can leverage within Google, and that's going to be the Google Display Network. So you can run kind of banner ads through YouTube, Gmail, and the Google apps on Android phones and beyond, and iPhones. So there's a lot of opportunities there as well. And then on the display ad strategy, you can use traditional programmatic advertising, and that is going to be, advertising to cannabis consumers through mainstream media, and that's going to be like your Rolling Stones, like your Fox, your CNN, your ESPN. If you're watching NBA playoffs and you're browsing on your phone, looking at kind of how did the Warriors do yesterday on their game, boom, you may see a cannabis ad when scrolling through the website. So that's another opportunity for you to reach mainstream consumers.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're looking at, I'm just kind of looking at some digital ad strategies here. There's for medical users, you can target people that are in the past, they were looking for a medical card. But when you're switching to recreational market, we want to target just traditional cannabis consumers. So anyone that's visited a dispensary the last 6 months, smoke shops, they can all be added to your audience, and you can target through display advertising that way. And it's, you really want to build up your pool of potential cannabis consumer. So when you're running a display ad campaign, you're casting a wide net of your ads, so you're being shown to a very diverse set of people. And then as you're kind of waving, like say you're waving, they see you, they wave back, they click on your link, and they take a look at your website. Maybe they don't purchase right away. We can do retargeting ads through display advertising. So anyone that's visited the website, and maybe they didn't purchase, you can run an abandonment cart campaign, and you can really nurture those clients and make sure that they are encouraged to make a purchase and check out. And that's, an incentive is a great way to kind of push them across the finish line to make a purchase. So that's another campaign that's definitely should be prioritized. And then on the SEO side, there's a lot of changes that need to take place, on your website. So you're moving from medical to adult use terms. So you'll need to do some keyword research and update, the primary keywords that you'll be targeting. Maybe you'll move medical cannabis terms to kind of secondary keyword targets, and you really want to focus on the high volumes keywords like dispensary near me, cannabis store, or cannabis delivery service. So there's a lot of opportunities there. And then you want to make sure that you have for any new location that you're creating, you want to make sure you have a location landing page for that location. So let's say in New Jersey City, you have a location, or you have, let's say, 5 locations throughout the state. You want to make sure that each location has its individual landing page, with that name, email, address, phone number, like all the business details, amenities that are available. You want to make sure that it's the URLs are updated to reflect that city, that it's if you have medical in your URL string, you'll want to remove that, update that, so it's more reflective of the adult use market. And then some states do have 2 menus. So if you're using like a Jane or a Dutchie, you may have your historical medical menu on there, so you can have a link to that on the menu, and then you can have your adult use menu. You can kind of keep them separate there, so you have product offerings to meet both consumer audiences. So there's a lot that you can do there. Ensure that you update your homepage, your location pages. Really think about your content strategy as well. So as you transition from medical to adult use, you could open up the types of content that you can create, right? So instead of just focusing on medical content and everything within that kind of scope of that category, you can do lifestyle, you can do hiking, you can do experiential, you can do anything, right? Like how to consume, like you have to create content that speaks to the new adult use consumer. So edibles 101, like different ways to consume, educating people on concentrates, what they are, like how they affect you. Like there's all these different ways to engage with cannabis consumers. So hope that was helpful.
It's a whole new world, really.
Yeah.
You already have an established business, but opening up these channels to these new customers, it's quite a lot of work. That was one heck of a to-do list.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget to update your Google My Business profile to reflect your recreational offerings. Just a little tidbit there.
Yep.
Paid search, display advertising, and SEO, they are the cornerstones of your competitive cannabis marketing plan. And many dispensaries out there are only utilizing one or two of those services. There's a ton of room for businesses of any size to grow and compete. So keep that in mind. There is, obviously a ton of work to tackle for a transition this big, and knowing what you're up against in terms of challenges, it's going to help you be better prepared. Guillermo, you mentioned a couple of hurdles retailers may face already. Expanding inventory, hiring and training staff were a couple.
Yep.
What other challenges can you think of that businesses may face or should consider during this transition?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of challenges. I mean, we already know kind of elephant in the room of banking limitations. So like funding, banking is always going to be an issue. So make sure that you definitely prioritize that. There'll be additional costs in taxes surrounding the inclusion of adult use. So taxes are usually higher, right, when you open it up to everyone. The states really they really want to take advantage of this opportunity and get their tax income in. So
yes, they do.
Yeah, then you have to keep up with the just kind of high level is like your market's bigger, right? So you're going to get more daily traffic, more foot traffic in the store. You'll need more staff to support that. You need the inventory to support that as well, with the surge in new sales. So on the purchasing side, ensuring that you have enough inventory in house to really support that. Just being really aware of all the new demographics of users, right? So it's no longer just medical patients. So you really need to expand your language, your product offering to meet all these the consumer demand. And just kind of looking at, just I guess final thing would be just really really being up to date on the laws and regulations of the state. So what can you and can you not do in New Jersey as far as advertising? What are your limitations? That's one major thing that you need to be aware of.
Absolutely.
I'll dive through a little bit of the advertising regulations that we've seen in New Jersey here. So for a full list, actually, let me post this in the Zoom chat so everyone has it. Some of the usual regulations that are across any of the states, like you can't appeal to minors. So that's one. Cannot depict anyone under the age of 21, can include toys, characters, cartoons, anything like that. So cannot be on a location-based device unless the owner is 21 years of age and includes opt-out feature warnings. Cannot sponsor events. So unless the advertiser or sponsor has reliable evidence that no more than 20% of the audience at the event is reasonably expected to be under 21. So on a billboard outside of the real property where a cannabis business is located. So there's a lot of limitations in New Jersey as far as that. So just kind of being aware of the market and where you stand. And then on the display advertising creative side, covering a little bit of the best practices. When creating an ad campaigns, you'll want to keep much of the same in mind. But there's standards that we suggest when creating display ads. So no consumption allowed in the videos or images. Ads should be free of cartoon characters or any elements that may appeal to anyone under 21 years of age. No false, misleading statements. No suggestions or medical benefits or claims. That's pretty standard for our industry as a whole. No pricing or potency statements, and ads for infused products which state for adult use only. So really just kind of being aware of all these factors when you're before you launch a display ad campaign.
Yeah, it's tough enough. You don't want to get restricted or accounts taken down or anything like that. Those are pretty standard. Nothing was wildly new there. So all in all, you're going to face challenges. And, on top of planning your new marketing strategy, there's an increased business opportunity that's worth the extra work to connect with the new customers.
Yeah.
I want to leave everyone with just one question out there watching. Are you prepared to dominate the adult use cannabis market before your competition does? And if the answer to that is anything but a resounding yes, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I did also want to take a second to plug another webinar that we did that can help you support your business when it comes to advertising and staying compliant. It's called a how-to guide for compliant cannabis online advertising. And I will drop that link in the chat as well. So we have quite a few references in there for you guys to check out. Don't leave without opening up the chat and navigating to those pages.
Yeah. Take a look at that, and we'll be putting out more content in regards to emerging markets and New Jersey's and New York and all the new markets that are coming out. They're going to be fun to follow. So really follow these steps and best practices to really get yourself ahead of the competition online and in person, and put your cannabis products in front of the right audience, right? So now is the time. I mean, the next year, it's time to capture the market share. It's crucial, and anyone that really wants to really hit the ground running, it's you need to invest now, capture as much market as possible. It's one positive is since a lot of the retail stores haven't opened, like the cost per acquisition is probably going to be much lower than if you're investing in next year or the year beyond. So really keep that in mind and take advantage, right? So now's the time. And thank you everyone for joining, Courtney and I today for our emerging market alert for New Jersey cannabis dispensaries. We know that event attendance is on the rise this year. So, for next week's webinar, we have teamed up with Wendy Campbell, the National Sales Director at Jage Media, for how to optimize or how to maximize in-person cannabis expos and events in 2022. So you can register for the webinar right now by heading over to our LinkedIn page and clicking on the events tab, or just go to MediaJel.com and go to our webinar section. You can register there as well. So we hope to see you there. And if you're at MJ Unpacked, we will be at the event. So if you'd like to schedule a meeting there, we'll also be hosting a rooftop party. So if you're in town in New York, feel free to swing by. We'd love to have you. Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic, and we hope to see you guys all there.
Yeah. And then one more plug, we'll be at the Cannabis Marketing Association. So we'll be active at that event as well in Denver. So if you're going to join us for that event, feel free to stop by. We'd be happy to touch base in person.
Sounds
cool.
good.
Thanks, Courtney. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.